Are you suffering from pain in your back and you're wondering whether or not a twisted vertebra is the cause? If you are, then this video will hopefully shed some light on the problems you might have. Hi everybody, my name is Will Harlow and I'm the Over-Fifties Specialist Physio here at HT Physio in Farnham. And today I'm going to be answering the question of, is a twisted vertebra possible? And before we dive into the content of the video, if you haven't already, please hit like on the video and subscribe to the channel using the link in the bottom right. Then you'll be the first to hear about our new spine videos when they come out. And we've got loads in the pipeline to help with problems like this. And if you're enjoying these videos, the best thing you could possibly do is share this channel with a friend or a family member, because then you'll help someone who's in need if they have a painful problem, and you'll help our channel grow as well. So I'll be eternally thankful for that. Now that that's all been said, let's talk about a twisted vertebra, what that means, whether it's possible, and what it could be instead. So I've had lots of people come into the clinic over time and they've said to me, oh, I feel like I've twisted a vertebra, something feels out of place in my back. Or maybe they've been to a chiropractor who said that one of their vertebrae is rotated or twisted or has come out of place. And they're understandably quite worried about this. They're quite scared that something's gone terribly wrong, and they're hoping that someone can put it back into place. Well, what I want to say to put you out of your misery with the answer of the question is that I don't personally believe that a twisted vertebra is a possibility for most people. And the reason I don't believe that is because, first of all, I haven't seen any compelling evidence that a twisted vertebra is possible in the average injury. And the only time I can think of a twisted vertebra being a possibility is if you have a very, very severe traumatic injury, like a car crash. And if you're that damaged that you've got a twisted vertebra, I think that would probably be the least of your problems. Now, before you start saying, oh, well, that doesn't match up with what my chiropractor said, I just want to give you some evidence from my side of the argument. Now, the vertebrae in our spine are these bones here. So they're depicted in the white plaster here, and they've got intervertebral discs between them. And the discs are very tightly attached to the vertebra. Now you can also see here at the back, we've got what we call facet joints here, which join the vertebra above and below. And you can't see it in the diagram, but there's very tough ligaments that hold these facet joints together. You also have cartilage that sits in between them, and the cartilage is pretty robust, and you can't easily dislodge it. Now on top of that, we also have muscles in the lower back that attach to the vertebra, and we also have tiny muscles that sit in between the vertebra. One of the main muscles that sits in between the vertebra is called the multifidus, and you've got one at every level of the spine which goes up the spine like this. You've also got your spinal cord in the middle that runs through the column of the spine. So there's a gap at the back of each vertebra which allows the spinal cord to run through. And then you've got your nerve roots which come out of these small holes that are left between the vertebra. So why am I telling you all this? Well, basically what I want to depict to you is the fact that the spine is very much secured in place by all of these different things. You've got the discs that keep the vertebra in place, you've got the ligaments, you've got the muscles, you've got the facet joints. And all of that being said, I don't think it's possible to dislodge just one vertebra or to rotate it. The reason we can't rotate it is if you see here, if only one vertebra is rotating, all it's going to do is hit the vertebra above. So in order to allow that vertebra to rotate, the next one's got to rotate as well, and then the one above it, and then the one above it, and then the one above it. And that's how we turn the spine. But I don't think it's possible to rotate just one vertebra on its own. So if someone's told you that one of your vertebrae has come out of place or rotated, I think 99% of the time that is not what happened. I think something else has gone wrong. Now, a lot of people are going to be watching this and say, well, I can understand what you're saying, but it still feels like I've got a twisted vertebra. It feels like something's out of place. So what I want to do in this video is also tell you about some of the things that could happen that can make it feel like you've got a twisted vertebra. One of the things that could happen that can make it feel like something's come out of place is you could have had a disc injury. And that could be a disc bulge or a herniated disc. And that's basically an injury to these areas of the spine here, so the intervertebral discs. And these, unlike the vertebra, which are bones, the discs are made up of softer substance, so collagen fibers, which are wrapped around in like a donut shape with a small fluid center. So they're flexible and they can move. But they're also more prone to damage than the vertebra. So if you feel like something has come out of place and you've got very severe pain, especially if you've got sciatica, which is pain down the leg, the most likely cause of that is an injury to an intervertebral disc. Now, those can effectively come out of place. That's what we would call a herniated disc or a slipped disc. It doesn't mean that the whole disc has slipped out. It just means that the fluid center from the disc has pushed out towards the back, or sometimes even ejected the disc entirely. So that could be one cause. Another cause of feeling like you've got a twisted or rotated vertebra is a problem with one of the facet joints. Now, these tend to cause pain which is local to the spine, so it can be an achy, diffuse pain which is sometimes sharp in various movements, and that pain can radiate down into the buttock as well. You can have arthritis in the facet joints, which can cause a lot of pain and stiffness and make it feel like something's come out of place. And in my opinion, you can also sometimes get an entrapment of the synovial membrane, which is the membrane that surrounds all the joints in the body, inside the facet joint, which I tend to call a facet joint dysfunction. Now, again, this is just my theory. It's not something that's been backed up by evidence, but some people, when they have severe pain in some positions that close down the joint, I feel like the synovial membrane is probably what's being pinched in that joint, and that can make it feel like something's come out of place. It can be very uncomfortable, but again, if we scanned the back, we definitely wouldn't see any twisted vertebra. We might just see some irritation to a facet joint. So that's another thing that can cause that kind of problem. Now, another thing that can cause pain that makes it feel like you've got a twisted vertebra is a muscle problem. Now, it's quite possible and very likely to get a muscle spasm in the lower back. Those can happen suddenly or they can start slowly over time. They can be excruciatingly painful. They can have people laid on their back in bed for days on end because they're so severe. But at the end of the day, what it is a muscle that's gone into spasm, so it's effectively locked up, and it can feel incredibly painful to move, and it can also almost make it feel like something's come out of place. But with any of these injuries, nothing has twisted. The vertebra has not moved out of place. So if you're worrying about a twisted vertebra, I would urge you to get a second opinion on the problem, because in my opinion, in my experience, a twisted vertebra is not really a possibility for most people. So I hope that's answered the question of, is a twisted vertebra possible? My opinion is probably not. The main thing to also remember is that if you've seen an x-ray of your back and it looks like you've got an S-shaped curve, that's what we call a scoliosis, which kind of looks like that. Now, that is not a vertebra that's twisted. That's the whole skeleton becoming a different shape, or the whole spinal skeleton becoming a different shape for a variety of causes. It can be caused by muscle tightness, it can be caused by degeneration in certain parts of the spine. But even in the case of a scoliosis, you wouldn't have the vertebrae rotating, you would have the spine bending in a certain position, but not rotating, and certainly not rotating enough to fully come out of place or to dislocate from the facet joints. You can obviously also get wear and tear to certain parts of the spine that cause people to come into this kyphosis type position, which is where they have rounded shoulders. But again, that's not the vertebrae rotating or twisting or coming out of space. That's just a combination of lots of changes happening at different vertebrae. So I hope that's made sense and answered your questions. If it has, or if you have any other questions, please do leave a comment below. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts and experiences. If you want to get more from me, please feel free to pick up a copy of my book. It's called Thriving Beyond 50, and you can find it on Amazon using the link below this video. Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you on the next one.